Millionaires of Reddit, how did you do it? I started saving for my retirement when I was 18 years old. I always took it as a point of pride that I contributed the maximum amount to my 401k allowed by law. I lived within my means. I worked in it and made a good salary for nearly 20 years. I have a master's degree in engineering with a focus in CompC. A few years ago I started making videos on YouTube and worked it as a second job that I loved. 4 years as my public popularity grew. While this happened, I did not increase my spending. I increased my saving. Compared to my YouTube peers, I also did a better than average job with branded integration deals. Lately I've started to run a Minecraft server and it's among the top 10 in the world. It's off to an amazing start, but I work about 120 hours a week on it. In short, I'm not one of those $1 million a year salary millionaires. I'm one of those millionaires that wears $8 trillion shirts, drives a 10-year-old truck, and lives a life knowing that nobody can touch him. The coolest part of all of it is that I get to work from home and set my own schedule. Edit, I'd say that 100-120 hours a week is a better estimate than 120 hours every single week. This Nigerian prince emailed me out of the blue one day. Said he needed a little money to get back to Nigeria, but that he'd give me a ton of money once he got there. Haven't heard back from him yet, but it's pretty much a done deal. So I'm basically already a millionaire. As proof of your wealth, all millionaires must buy everybody gold. My dad was the CEO of a hospital. He cleared $750k a year with bonuses. He passed away after a month in the ICU after an accident. I'm a millionaire but duck the money. I make 45k and don't touch it. I'd give it all back for another day. I have ongoing guilt about this, but I didn't do anything. My father was a very successful doctor who founded what became a large regional medical practice and was earning about $10 million a year for 15 years. I grew up surrounded by wealth, and when he died, he left everything to his only child, me. I still live mostly like I have nothing. Like I'm a college student. And I work in a low-paying public service job. Because I don't feel like I deserve it. I didn't earn it. It doesn't feel right. But it's all there. I have it. At first I was a billionaire and then I bought an airline company. There are quite a few people who are worth a few million. But most of them have gained their worth from saving and spending responsibly. Many of these people do not drive $100,000 plus sports cars and waste their money. I'm surprised I haven't seen any Bitcoin millionaires in here. I'm still kicking myself for shutting down my mining rig early on. Not a millionaire myself, but just thought I'd mention that Joe Aids did it by selling $5 potato peelers on the street. Here's a video of him and interview he did. YouTube.com. I work for waste management in the UK and I had found a hard drive in the rubbish. For example, provided by narrator B. Freeman. Start your own business. Unless you are a pro athlete, super successful real estate agent, lawyer or investment broker, you cannot make millions working for others. I am kind of a hybrid. I have a percentage deal with a financial services company. I get paid for the deals I do. No salary. I am not as successful as Freeman, but I still fit the millionaire category. I don't spend my money. You don't get rich by spending it. Spend my entire life living like I make only $25,000 a year only to become a millionaire when I retire. Saved almost all of my money from everything. Lived frugally most of the time. Got scholarships to college, law school. Took saved money and hit pretty big on a tech stock. Got a good paying job. Max out my 401k and Roth. Bought a house. Fixed it up. Sold it for a decent profit. Bought more houses. Fixed them up. And now rent them out. Got more cash from that. Bought a 6-unit apt complex. Rent those out. Invest money in low-cost index funds. Have kept some money. About 20k out to play with in the market for fun and have made some good scores with that. I survived until I was 21 and then the trust fund was made available to me. Hard times. A college degree is not a ticket to wealth and prosperity. It's just a piece of paper. Honestly, it means less than we like to think. It goes something like this. If you have money, making more is easy. If you have not money, you have to make something else. Come up with a product you can make yourself. For starters. And make it. Market it. Sell it. You will almost certainly fail at this first venture. Do it again. And again. Learn. Eventually. You have experience. You have a sixth sense about what will work and what will not. Eventually. You will find yourself in a position to take advantage of an opportunity for rapid expansion through outside investment. Or natural expansion through reinvestment of profits. That's when you know you've made it. One day you look at the bottom line on the balance sheet. And there's 6 zeros. That's about it. I will say that. Going into business with the intention to make money is actually a mistake. It seems counterintuitive. But focus on making a product or providing a service. If you produce, market, and sell properly, the money kind of takes care of itself. If you want to be a millionaire, start with $1 billion and launch a new airline. Richard Branson. This is depressing to read. Had 2 self-employed previous jobs as a research scientist and as a political consultant. The latter ended due to political scandal that was caused by others but meant I had to change tack. Became an art dealer specializing in avant-garde material and found a niche. Worked up, buying, selling and buying again. From £15,000 left over from my consultation business to a collection now worth £2 million. Now I'm a curator of a pretty big museum and a relatively successful artist also, in terms of sales. Hard work and intelligence and learning my stuff better than my competitors, to a point where I once found a book worth $55,000 for £20 in a bookshop in Stowe, UK, is what I think mostly did it. And being nice to folk where possible. Simples. Remember guys, most of these people have spent decades accumulating their wealth. With plenty of setbacks. Don't be mad at yourself because you don't have it before you're 25. Converted $230.79 to Sierra Leonean Leone. If you ask this in our personal finance, you will get more in-depth answers. Inherited all of it. I'm still in college and I locked all my money away to prevent me from being an idiot with it. Because I know I probably would. I was born a billionaire. And then I got married and had a few kids. I worked at office jobs for a little over 30 years. Starting right after college. Every year, every single year, I put 10% of my salary into a 401k. Most years my employers matched my contribution. I invested it in aggressive growth mutual funds in my 20s. 30s until my early 40s. That was when I put half of the money into funds that generate dividends and interest and kept half in aggressive growth funds. When I was in my early 30s, my wife and I bought a house for about $275,000 and decided to get a 20-year mortgage instead of the more common 30-year mortgage. Today, the house is almost paid off. Today, my savings are worth slightly more than $2 million. In about a year, I can live rent-free and mortgage-free in my house that is probably worth about $700,000. I never gave in to temptation to borrow money from my retirement fund or to take money out and pay taxes on it. I never gave in to temptation to reduce my contributions to less than 10%. I never gave in to temptation to take the money out of aggressive growth funds until I got old enough that I could see my retirement years were about 10 years away. Even in 1987 when the market went to hell. Even in 2000 when the market went to hell. Even in 2008 when the market went to hell. The market recovered each time. Just as Warren Buffett said it would. The man's a genius. I give him a lot of the credit for the fact my strategy seems to have worked. I did take out a home equity loan about 15 years ago when I started my own company. But each time I pulled money out of the line of credit because the business needed it. I made it my top priority to get the balance paid as soon as possible. Final note, there is an excellent book called The Millionaire Next Door that is a study of hundreds and hundreds of people who became wealthy through their own earnings. They didn't inherit money or win the lottery. They earned and saved. A very large percentage of all those self-made millionaires are self-employed and can tell stories like narrator B. Freeman. My parents. They're low-end millionaires. That is, liquid savings are probably shy of $1 million. But they own 2 properties in New York City valued at a couple million each. As well as some unknown sum of money invested in stocks. They have no debt. My parents achieved this by starting a graphic design pre-press company. They came to the States with literally no money. Attended a prestigious design school on scholarship. Saved and scrimped 4 years while working entry-level design jobs and freelance. When I was born, business started booming. My mom quit to raise me. My dad worked 18 hours a day some weeks to finish big contracts. I rarely saw him. Saved. Invested. Paid off all loans. Bought a home as soon as they could. Never once bought designer anything. Never splurged on vain items. As a result, I've had a privileged upbringing and no real sense of what being poor means. I've worked every day since I moved out and I hate being unemployed or lazy or slacking. But I just don't get that pressure of needing to earn money. My parents broke their backs so that I would never have to. And for that I'm eternally grateful. Spouse and self both blessed with a lack of acquisitiveness. Both worked member of its staff jobs to retirement age. Spent less than we earned. Made some modest real estate investments. Secret to retiring with a few mil? Be nerdy dinks. Worked my ass off through my last 2 years of high school. Went to college. Failed out. Worked at crappy manufacturing jobs for the next 10 years. Got divorced. Had enough of picking shit with the chickens. Got dedication. Went back to school. Lived like a monk for the next 5 years while I got a degree in computer science. Went to work for a soulless corporation that had decent 401k and investment programs. Burned the candle in at least 3 dimensions for the next 10 years. Got married. Had a child. During which time my wife and I paid off school loans of $25,000. Kept up the investments, 10% of income per year. Both of us. Bought 4 homes, quivering with fear of failure each time. Sold 2. One for a pittance gain. One for a 15% gain. Still live a lot like a monk. Stopped drinking almost entirely. Eat only at home. Been driving the same car for over 10 years. Don't have cable, Netflix, or any other useless monthly payments. Paid off the primary residence through luck and persistence. Still have a rental home that at least covers itself. Net worth is now over 1.5 M. Left the soul-crushing corporate job. Now working with an awesome team for less money, but more satisfaction. The takeaway? Work hard and smart. And forget about the sheet society tells you need. Examine every bit of cash that goes out. And think hard and long about how you can reduce or avoid the expense. Sucks at first, but the payoff is huge. I will make just below $1 million in profit in 2013. Projections for next year are higher. I grew up dirt poor. My family encouraged education, not to make the same mistakes they did. Though I loved learning, school was boring to me. I worked at age 13 on and learned the value of hard work. I earned my associates and decided to avoid school debt in order to get a full-time job. With some luck I started my career at 20. I was insanely driven to learn everything possible. Prove myself. And make everyone happy. While everyone partied and spent, I learned and invested on growing myself. At 25 I started my own firm. We had many lucky breaks mixed with 18-hour days for years. Life got lost in the rush. But the business became very successful. We were $1 million company when I was 30. This year we more than doubled last year's revenue. We now regularly get requests that make my jaw drop and I wake up each day and wonder at how lucky I am. My personal rant: many people say the American dream is dead. I can see why they feel this way. But a key part of that dream is belief. You have to believe in its existence to want to try hard. The reward is not guaranteed. And it is not easy. But for those that don't stop when an obstacle appears, the benefits go way beyond money. Be the person that bounces right back after every fall. From inheritance. My father was an investor and entrepreneur in China. He started two companies in the 80s. One was bought out by Dad in around 2000. And the other he sold to a friend. I lost my dad last year. Though he left us with more than enough to live off of. I put it all in an account to save for my family and my future kids. Like some others I've read on this thread. I'd give it all back for another day with my dad. I'm in my early 20s currently. I make a decent salary working in the automotive aftermarket industry. Whenever this question comes up, I always feel like OP really means how can I easily make many millions of dollars and have a wild party lifestyle until I die. I don't think he's looking to save lots of money and live below his means for the next 30-40 years. My uncle qualifies. He started bottom rung in Northrop Grumman, the aerospace corporation, just out of high school when high school degrees could get you a reasonably decent job. He worked his ass off for several decades and proceeded to climb the ranks and amass wealth. He's a political conservative but is not unwilling to see different perspectives. And he and I argue and debate money, ideology, and even religion all the time. He's my favorite person to debate with because he's a smart guy who knows WTF he's talking about. I love my uncle.